just concluded the last session of the G20 Social 2020 South Africa 2025. And as we have indicated, we had 22 engagement groups that made their proposals and resolutions. They've agreed on 7 legacy projects that will be implemented throughout. We have indicated that for us as South Africa and the African continent and the global south, it doesn't matter who's going to take over after us. Whether they are here or not here, we have our own projects that we are going to implement for the participation of South Africans, of Africans and people of the global south. We are serious about dealing with inequality as the President has indicated, and we are going to implement, as the President has indicated, an inequality panel so that we can focus, the global leaders can focus on addressing inequality. And therefore, we are happy, and the declaration was achieved. You also heard from the chairperson of the Inter-Ministerial Committee, Minister Lamula, indicating that the resolutions and the proposals from this social summit have been forwarded to the Sherpas, which they will include in the deliberations from the Leaders Summit that starts on Saturday. And we are confident that as this social summit went on smoothly, I said, ready. We are ready. We're actually more than ready. You saw the enthusiasm of participants, and the houses were full, whether it was on side events or also on the main plenary. We were running, and there were serious deliberations. Thank you, South Africa, for being wonderful hosts, but thank you, South Africa, for coming together to show the world who we are and what we are made of. We are the people of South Africa. We, the people of South Africa, will determine the future of this country in support of our government that we have elected through democratic processes as dictated by our constitution. And no country, no sovereign will bully us, as the President has indicated. We are a sovereign state, and we are independent and will take our own decisions.
I'd like to ask you a question. I just want to ask, the President spoke about the different approach to gender-based violence, not coming out clearly to say it's going to be declared a state of emergency. So what is this different approach that will be taken by government and decided on by G20?
As you have, I'm sure you will recall that in 2020 the President declared gender-based violence a pandemic. But also in 2018, the President worked with the women's groups of South Africa to develop a strategic plan of action that was focused on dealing with gender-based violence. In that strategic plan, there were 3 components. The first component was that which government must do legislatively to make sure that we address the scourge of gender-based violence. It includes reviewing our criminal justice law, include dealing with the sentencing, I forgot the name, the right naming conventions, but the law that deals with sentencing or treating offenders of gender-based violence, to ban bail for those who murder their wives, to those who rape, and so forth. And those laws have been passed. So the government component in terms of legislation, we went through that period and we worked through and make sure that is delivered. Then the second component of that was dealing with women's safety. And the women's safety component dealt with two elements in particular: providing place of safety for women and children. And we rolled out as government to Tuzela care centers across the country to make sure that women and children have places to go. But the second part of that was focused on making sure that women do not stay in relationship because they are not able to have livelihoods to support themselves and their children. And we also developed in that space a quota for women empowerment, and we started at 40% to say from all the procurement that is done by government, and we challenge private sector to say, can you make sure that you empower women? But departments like departments of small business development, department of trade, industry and competition, and other economic sector departments were given a mandate and the responsibility to make sure that they've got programs that support women. And I know this because I was the Minister of Small Business Development. We developed what we call She Trade to make sure we support women entrepreneurship and women businesses, including on funding and also on business support across the range, to make sure that women can be able to earn their own livelihoods and do not stay in abusive relationships because of the fear that they won't be able to take care of themselves. Then the third component that needed civil society, all of us working together, hands on deck, because we all acknowledge that gender-based violence takes place in our own homes, takes place in our own communities. We know, majority of us, we know the perpetrators, we know the offenders, and we said we must come together. And you'll recall at that point, the church community came together to also do the conscientization. And at this point, where the scourge is not diminishing, the president has declared it a crisis and said we must then roll our hands to reevaluate what is there that is missing from what we have done. You'll recall the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster 2 months ago went on a campaign in Western Cape and in the Eastern Cape to just deal with gender-based violence. But we are all reviewing what are the gaps that may be there, but also wanting to strengthen the component of civil society participation.